Hey, folks, holy Mackinac. No Matthews, young goalie, Nylander out for parts of it. They battled, they did it, Game 7. How did they do it? What's going to happen? Well, you know what? We're going to break it all down for you. Right here on the OZone.
You're in the offensive zone, your place for Leafs hockey.
Hey folks, welcome to the OZone. That's Coach. We love you, KD. I'm the Devo, and we're here to talk all things Leafs as always. I'm coming to you from the OZone HQ in Toronto, back from Spain. And you know what they say? The rain in Spain falls mainly on, well, really the Canadians. That's Coach, where are you at?
Well, Devo, the subscribers will know I've done this podcast from a number of remote locations.
Mm-hmm.
None as remote as this. I am in Ob, Germany. And if you haven't heard of it, it's because you can barely find it on a map. Here's the map. So basically, I'm in the middle of Germany, and it's not the middle of nowhere, but you can see the middle of nowhere. It's just over that valley. So I'm at a wedding, and that's why I'm dressed up. And I'm in between ceremony and reception. But I had to come back here and, cut out for a little bit and talk Maple Leafs. Let's get going.
Let's do it. All right, folks. You know the drill. Hit subscribe, ring the bell. You'll never miss any content. Also, like and share the video. Helps spread the audience. Look, leave a comment. We love them. We get back to them. It helps us take this stuff all that much more seriously. Okay. Coach, let's get into it. We're gonna do a debrief. If the Leafs aren't successful in Game 7, we'll break it down. Even if they are, whenever their season ends, we're gonna obviously do a major debrief. We're not gonna start here. Let's take a quick look back at the series. Coach, we said before the series that Samsonov was going to start in net, but we both agreed that he shouldn't have been the starter. We were concerned that Wall was going to get his chance, but probably a little bit too late in the series. And boy, were we right on that one. What has happened with the play of the goalies in this series, including overtime? Really, Wall has played in the last 8 periods, and the Leafs have been the better team for, I would say, 6 of those. So what have you seen?
So, Devo, we don't like to toot our own horns here, but we both did call it. Yeah. And it was a bit of a tightrope act, wasn't it? Because we both had Samsonov as the 4th best goalie in this series. Mm-hmm. And yet he was going to start. I mean, from 10 games left, he was anointed, basically, when Wall struggled a bit in his first 2 starts back against Boston. And we said, Wall's going to need to come in and be a factor for the Leafs to win the series, but it can't be too late. How long do you stick with Samsonov? Yeah. And fortunately, he came in and he's been great. And look, we are tooting our own horns here, but even the 2 of us could not have predicted how good he would be. Mm-hmm. The fact that his favorite goalie growing up was Carey Price maybe should have given us an idea that he would be immune to pressure. Yeah. The other part of it is he's been the most highly touted U.S. goalie for most of his hockey career. Went to the U.S. National Team Development Program. He was the number 1 there. So he has played in big games at his age group a lot. And he, when he became in the Leaf organization, he got hurt a little bit, but still, when he's been healthy, he's been fantastic. And he's been that guy dealing with this pressure for a long time. So we're in really good shape. I will say a little bit I'm not sure about the Bruins and the way they handled their goaltending. And maybe this is leading to the angst that they're feeling on the other side. Mm-hmm. So remember, for 40-some games, they had a rotation. One guy plays and the other guy plays. Yeah. They're up 2-1, and they decide to roll with Swayman. The problem with that is you lose Allmark. Just like we talked about, remember Devo to start the series. When you go away from Samsonov, you've lost him.
He's not an option.
So now Allmark's not an option. I'm not saying Swayman's played bad. In fact, he's played great.
Yeah.
But if you have Allmark play and they win Game 4, they're invincible still. Either guy can beat you, right? But when you go to Swayman and you say, this is the guy we need to beat the Leafs, and then he loses again, there's nowhere left to turn. Allmark is
Yeah.
gone for this series. So I think they had the upper hand. They should have kept just rolling with what they had. Frankly, they should have done that with the lineup too, but that's another story.
Yeah, we'll take the mistakes for sure. Look, other than game 2, where Matthews shone bright, and last game Willie's potted a couple, but goals aside, he wasn't necessarily driving a lot of the play. The Stars haven't exactly carried the team, and that was something we had sort of put on the board as something that really needed to happen. Matthews out for the last 2 games, still out. Maybe he plays in Game 7. There's no word yet. It seems like he's probably going to miss Game 7 too. Where are the Stars, and does it matter?
Yeah. So Nylander missing the first 3 wasn't great. And then Matthews, it's even worse that he's missing now. I mean, he's one of the top, 2, 3, 4 players on the planet.
Yep.
So you can't argue we're better without him, but maybe it's a rallying point.
Clearly.
Look, you don't tune in here to get in-depth Leafs analysis to say, hey, the Stars need to play well. Like everybody, that's true of any team, anywhere, in any sport, right?
They're saying it in Boston right now about Pasta, right?
I mean, it's blasphemy in Boston to talk ill about Pasternak, but yes, they are. Goaltending and special teams, that isn't even cutting edge analysis, but we gave you that. But look, the truth is this: it's a really, really tight series, and it's very physical. These teams are 1 and 2 in the playoffs so far in hits. Leafs are 1; they're about 8 ahead of Boston. Very physical. The fact that Toronto is still in that game, in that series, with that type of makeup where games are 2-1, that's not how Toronto's built. I think it probably says more about Boston's fragility than anything else. That Boston is built to win these games, and they've just lost a couple in a row. To me, the Leafs' best players have been Jake McCabe, who's a stud on D. Matthew Knies is coming into his own, and then we talked about Joe Wall. Neither of those guys are making 11, but we've needed it because the guys that are making 11, like you say, Devo, conspicuous by their absence, except for a flash by Matthews and a flash by Nylander.
Yeah, I put this out on the Twitters earlier this week, and it remains out there. I'll throw it to the subscribers. I would love to see for the last 2 seasons what the Leafs record is with 44, Riley, Matthews, or Marner out of the lineup, because it's the team has seemed to be able to rally with those guys gone. And this isn't a critique on the guys that are out, but clearly it becomes a shot in the arm, and as you said, a rallying cry, which the team has obviously responded for. I think it would be something if we find out at game time Matthews in. Their power play is so bad, that having a guy like Matthews in, even if it is a knee issue or whatever, and maybe we'll get to that, just have him on the bench for the power play. Come in and play the 6 minutes of the game and be a trigger man, but who knows? That's a good segue. Let's get into it. All year we've been complaining about the special teams coach. The penalty kill has been pretty good, actually, I got to admit, this series, and certainly the last couple games. I think the goaltender is a major factor there. He always has to – the goaltender has to be your best penalty killer. Yeah. But the power play, coach, my goodness, it is so bad. And it's almost getting embarrassing to watch. There were a couple sequences in the last game, we had guys running into each other and falling down and turning the puck over and having to reset the drop pass 3 or 4 times. I think Boston got their only shot in the first period on the penalty kill. With this much talent, even with Matthews out, with this much talent, can you explain it? I know it's a joke. I think Keith kind of addressed it in the after the morning skate. Should the Leafs start declining the power play? Coach, what do you think? What's going on here?
Devo, we miss him every single day, but we sure miss him right now. KD would have an answer. KD was the power play guy. He would say, cross the wingers, pucks to the net. I'm not sure even what KD would say now. They can't even get in the zone. It's awful. I wish I had an answer, and I know the people come here to have us have an answer. I don't. Boston's a great penalty killing team, but even then, there's no excuse for it being this bad. It's awful. I guess with it being so brutal here in the last couple games, maybe there's a silver lining. It kind of gets rid of the nonsense late in the regular season that the power play declined because they were trying to get Matthews goals. It'll be fine. They're just trying to feed Matthews. Yeah, it's not right. No, that's not it. Turns out not to be it. It's noticeably and maybe predictably worse without Matthews. But even with Matthews early in the series, it was awful. What are they, 1 for whatever? The problem here is it's a short series. What are you going to do? Like, you can't make radical changes to the power play in one off day between games. They got to hope they get a bounce or something. It's so bad. You think most of Leaf Nation is upset watching that power play? The game started at 8 Eastern, Devo. That's 1 a.m. in London. It's 2 a.m. here in Germany. I'm staying up. I'm in the middle of the night, and I'm watching them not even be able to enter the zone. I'm screaming. It's awful.
It is painful to watch. Power plays are weird, though, right? We've seen teams in the postseason before have anemic power plays, and then all of a sudden in one game they go off for 3. Maybe the Leafs get kind of lucky in that regard. Maybe it's a bounce. They can't get the zone, though, and that's like the thing that's so frustrating. And when they do, they're sort of dumping it in. They're all disheveled. They can't slow the puck down. Boston obviously has a great game plan for them, no question. But it seems like, and we've talked about this for years actually now on the pod. It seems like the high-end talent for Toronto is not great at being able to X's and O's. They're very good at wheeling and dealing and moving around, but when you try to set things, although their set plays have been pretty good of late off the face-off draws in the offensive zone, I don't know what the problem is. They just can't seem to gain the zone.
Yeah, it's got to be something. Look, they are disheveled, Devo. We would just take shoveled right now.
Exactly. All right, I want to change gears here because we've been pretty good at dishing it out here, particularly this year, Coach. But we got to give the GM a little bit of credit. Domi, Bertuzzi, they've been great. Really, they were pretty solid down the stretch for Toronto, but they've been maybe not putting up huge offensive numbers, but they're definitely causing some havoc in Boston's zone, and not at the massive detriment defensively that we had seen earlier in the season. Lyubushkin, Edmonston finally kind of finding their way with the team, gelling with the team, very solid. This team hasn't rolled over and died. You mentioned that they're out hitting Boston. This is definitely a different makeup than we've seen over the past few years. What do you make of it?
Yeah, those acquisitions have been great. That's what they bet on, right? Is that especially a guy like Bertuzzi, he'll come around in the playoffs. Domi might be the best forward in the playoffs if it's not Matthew Nyes. He's been great. So now, to be fair, if this is our section where we're being fair, yes, this GM has done a great job with these acquisitions. To be fair, I mentioned I thought the best players have been McCabe, Nyes, and Wall. Those are all acquired by the old guy, but we're not going there. All those additions you mentioned have been very good. A couple others too. Simon Benoit, he's gotten over some shakiness. I don't know, is it game 4 or 5? Opening faceoff comes to him, he flips it into the crowd. Like he's been nervous, but he's gotten over it. He's been good too. Even Ryan Reeves has had his moments. If we can get Reeves going downhill and go forecheck, he can be effective, right? So far so good. But I guess for the sake of this narrative, and we're all feeling good about the GM and what he's done, perhaps I should not bring up John Klingberg, right? Let's save that for another day. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll use that in a recap.
Let's hope these guys keep rolling. Hey, we need one more here.
Yeah, one more. It's true. You brought up Reeves, and I'd be remiss to suggest – I don't know if he'll be in the lineup game 7. I would be surprised, actually, just because I would not be surprised if they don't roll back the exact same lineup from the previous game. But I think Reeves was a contributor, even in the locker room. I'll splash it up here. We got him in the pregame as the guys are coming out, getting everyone psyched. This is not a guy who brings a lot of ego. He brings a lot to this team. None of it's ego. He's a lot of guys who get scratched. They'll sit in the press box and stew. He's doing whatever he can do to contribute to help this team. Nice really to see. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess let's kind of start getting into like the Leafs play in general. Really, first two games kind of even series. Leafs came out in game 2, looked pretty strong. 3 and 4, they were rolled over. They looked like they quit, quite frankly. Leafs Nation went nuts. We were calling for everyone's head. It was only a couple of days ago that people were calling for Marner to be run out of town. The ups and downs in the playoffs are really quite amazing. But the last two games facing elimination, gutsy, inspired. These are the types of words you'd bandy about. But let's look at it from the other perspective. Boston, to me, looks very tentative and tight, certainly to start the last couple games. It's hard to close out a team in the NHL, but really now the Leafs are going to need to close out Boston if they want to win. Who is feeling it worse, Coach? Who is the tight team right now?
Yeah, I think 1,000% it's Boston that's feeling this worse. I don't even think it's close. And I think this would be true just based on the way the series has gone. You mentioned games 3 and 4, the Leafs were outclassed. Game 1, I was there. It was a disaster, 5-1 loss. So really thoroughly outplayed in 3 of the first 4, and that's when the socials blew up, right?
Yeah.
So to have the Leafs come back and get it even, Boston will be tight regardless. But add on top of that, they suffered one of the biggest collapses in pro sports history 12 months ago. They were the runaway President's Cup winner against a Florida team who was in the playoffs for about 6 weeks. Remember, they had to run the gauntlet to just win that 8th playoff spot.
They played their way in the last game of the year. They played their way in, right?
They had to go like 9-1 in their last 10 to get in. Yeah. And then they get down 3-1. They start some guy, Alex Lyon, in net, and then Bobrovsky comes in game 3 or something, very similar to what we've got. And all of a sudden, a 3-1 lead is gone, and then they can't win. So I think it's all on Boston, and I'll support my point with three different perspectives with 3 posts. Here's one tweet from the Oak Leafs. I like this guy. He's a good follow. He says, I may be stupid, but of all the things that concern me about this team in the playoffs, not having home ice isn't one of them. This was posted before the playoffs began. And you see the postseason record under Sheldon Keefe much, much worse at home versus the road. This is even exacerbated more because the Leafs are 2-1 on the road in this series, 1-2 at home. So now you could say, well, if you're a good coach, you should have better record at home. That is true. But Leafs are going into Boston game 7. I'm not worried about it. Second, this is, I think, the sentiment of very many Leaf fans coming out of that broiler that was Leafs social media after game 4, right? I'm carefree right now, like our buddy Mahesh K. Mahesh, you should subscribe. You seem like a good guy.
Yeah. If
the Leafs lose, big changes are coming. I don't think that changes just because they got back in the series. And coaching staff for sure, maybe executives. And then if we win, it's a huge comeback and we feel great about ourselves. It's a huge win-win, right?
Yeah.
And then the third one is something I sent you just briefly. I can't believe we may have stumbled upon a team and a fan base who's even more fragile than ours.
Yeah.
We have Leaf fans on here. We know what our psyche is like. Can you imagine a team being more nervous about a game 7 against the Leafs than Leaf fans are? It's fantastic. This last 48 hours, has been spectacular, if only to know that Bruins fans are stewing and steaming and sweating more than we are.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Toronto fans, you'll always remember the heartbreak, and you can go back a pretty long way. 2013, when we, when we up 3-1 against Boston, and they flipped the switch on us, and then it goes on and on and on from there. We've had a lot of heartbreak over that time. But other than those losses to Boston, look at Boston. What's their record in Game 7? What's their record in elimination games? What's their record when they're up 3-1 in a series? It's not good, folks. So we remember our angst in the old town of Boston. They have some history too. And the fact that the socials are a little bit quiet coming out of there makes you believe that they're stewing a little bit as well. And that should give everyone a little bit of pause today on this beautiful spring morning in Toronto. There you have it, folks. Everything you need to know about the Leafs. We said it was going to be a long one. Even after Game 1, we'd said it was a long one. Here we are, in tight. Here we are in Game 7. Here we are for you, right here on the Ozone.
Come on, boys, one time.